Have you ever dreamed of building a world that is entirely your own? Crafting stories, characters, and various challenges that players can spend hours exploring. Let me just tell you, as someone who is currently a part-time game developer, has won multiple game jams, and has a first-class degree in game design, you don't need the degree, you don't need the expensive tools or years of experience to get started. In this video, I'm going to show you the quickest way to kickstart your journey to becoming a game developer. Whether you're starting from scratch or just building on your existing passion, stick with me for the next few minutes and you'll not just learn the steps you'll need to take, but the mindset and the tools you'll need to turn your games into reality. Step 1 is essentially just define why you are doing this. Before you do anything else, ask yourself, why do you want to be a game developer? Are you wanting to do it as a hobby or pursue it as a career? Or are you just wanting to tell an interesting story? Knowing your why will keep you grounded when things get tough. And trust me, they will. For me personally, making a Metroidvania isn't just about making a game. It's about sharing my passion for exploration and game design. I wanted to race to the challenge and create a whole new subgenre of Metroidvanias. That is my why, and it's what keeps me going. Step 2 is decide what types of games you're wanting to make, and then choosing the game engine that will help you serve that goal best. The good news is most game engines these days are really beginner friendly, and with a few caveats, free. I'd recommend starting with one of the big three, which is Unity, Unreal, and Godot. Unity probably has one of the biggest libraries of tutorials to really help you get started on that specific game that you're wanting to make. Godot is really lightweight and is an open source engine, which is great for indie developers. Unreal Engine excels in 3D graphics and is very widely used within the gaming industry. So if you're wanting to apply for job positions within a pre-existing studio, that is probably the one I would recommend. However, with that being said, the skills you'll learn using any one of these game engines are transferable. So just because you chose Unity at the beginning doesn't mean you'll be starting completely from scratch if you decide to switch to Unreal later down the line. When I first started, I thought you had to learn everything at once, from art to music to programming, and spoiler alert, you don't. Modern engines allow you to use pre-built assets and visual scripting in some cases, so you can focus on your strengths. Take baby steps and start with a small project, a simple platformer, or even a small text-based adventure. Don't make anything open world, make something like Flappy Birds. Step 3 is to learn the fundamentals. It can be really easy to get stuck in tutorial hell, so making sure you have clear and concise goals when you're learning is really important. To really get you started, you want to focus on 3 core principles: programming, game design, and problem solving. Being able to make something that is fun to play is a lot more important to most players than being able to make something that is pretty. That's not to say that art isn't a very important component of game creation, but understanding what keeps players engaged and playing your game should be your priority over making something that is graphically beautiful. Plus, there are plenty of assets you can use in the meantime on sites like itch.io. For game design, study games that you love. Ask yourself, why is this fun? Why does this level work so well? For problem solving, throughout the process of making any game, you will run into bugs and you will run into issues. Being able to take a step back and think critically about the situation is a really important skill. It's a skill that is extremely useful in game development, but also in day-to-day life as well. So being able to hone that skill is so powerful. And for programming, take some time to learn one language, like C# for Unity or GDScript for Godot. Don't worry, you don't have to be a coding wizard, heaven knows I'm not, but communities like Skillshare have hundreds of classes that make it easy to learn. Skillshare is one of the largest online learning communities for creatives, with thousands of classes led by industry experts across topics such as illustration, design, freelancing, game development, and so much more. You can learn all the core skills to not just make your games, but market and sell them too. Skillshare can help you take your career, skills, hobbies, passions, or side hustles to the next level. I recently looked back at my own journey in game development, and it took me back to where I started, making board games. So I decided to dive into the basics again and look into some classes on the topic of game design for board games, and rethink some of the mechanics for a card game I made called Cryptic Creatures. Some of the other classes I've personally looked into are YouTube Success by MKBHD to try and level up my YouTube videos so that I can produce the best quality content I can, and Productivity for Creators by Ali Abdal to explore different ways to stay productive while I run this channel, my indie studio, have a part-time job, and still have some quality time with Mrs. Lazy. I'm extremely grateful for the skills Skillshare has helped me develop, and I truly believe they can help level up your skills in game development too. To help you on this journey, the first 500 people to use my link in the description will receive a 1-month free trial of Skillshare, so get started today. Step 4 is to create small projects and finish them. The hard truth is, if you keep starting over your projects, you're essentially learning the same things over and over again, and you're missing out on those core skills like finishing a game, bug fixing, and learning to publish a game as well, which is so important. Start small and finish what you started. When I was learning, I made this mistake and started too big, and it backfired massively. If I were to go back to the start again, I would make small games based on a single tiny mechanic. It doesn't need to be perfect, but it will teach you the process from start to finish. Having something done is better than having something perfect. Each project will build your skills and your confidence, plus finished games are your ticket to a portfolio, which ultimately is your gateway to freelance work or even a job in an existing studio. Step number 5 is to join communities. Game development isn't a solo journey. Join different communities on Reddit or Discord. Share your work and ask questions. You'll be surprised how much you will learn from just sharing your work with other people. When I hit roadblocks or are struggling on a certain part of my Metroidvania, I can turn to multiple different communities and just ask for advice and search for inspiration. And every time I do so, I come out of it so driven to keep working. Collaboration isn't just helpful, it's genuinely inspiring. You'll find yourself pushing on harder when you know you've got a community cheering you on. Plus, it's a great way to find people to work with. If it wasn't for these communities and social media, I wouldn't have met half the people I work with today. So it's extremely valuable. Step number 6 is to reverse engineer games. Quite simply, if you want to make games, you'll have to play games. Take the games that you love and genuinely inspire you and reverse engineer components of them. Pick a simple feature like an inventory, an enemy AI, or an epic boss fight and figure out exactly how it works. Then just try to recreate it. When I started designing enemies for my Metroidvania, I studied games like Hollow Knight. I learned how enemy patterns could challenge the player without it feeling unfair, and how it can ultimately lead to teaching the player how to beat bosses down the line. Honestly, it's so interesting what you'll discover when you actually start looking at games through a designer's perspective rather than a player's. It's some fascinating stuff. Step number 7 is to stay consistent and set realistic goals. Game development is more than a marathon. It's a triathlon, a pentathlon, an octathlon, a dodecathlon. I don't know. Whatever like 10 marathons is, it's a lot. It's not just a 100-meter sprint. You need to set actionable goals. Things like, today I will create a jumping animation, or this week I will just finish level 1. Celebrate every milestone no matter how small it is. And remember that even 20 to 30 minutes every day adds up. Being consistent and acting on your goals is what separates dreamers from developers. Step number 8 is to just get constant feedback and launch your game. Platforms like itch.io make it incredibly easy to publish a game that you've made, whether that be a small prototype or a contribution to a game jam. And getting constant feedback, especially post-launch, is extremely valuable. Yes, it will sting sometimes, and not everything is going to be good feedback. But if anything, getting genuine, critical feedback is so much more important, and it will make the next games you make so much better. Just share everything you do with as many people as possible. Even throughout development, send screenshots and videos to different game dev communities, such as the LazyTeaStudios Discord. Very subtle plug, but it genuinely makes a difference. And honestly, the first time someone plays and enjoys your game is an indescribable moment. It's such a powerful feeling, and it makes all those late nights completely worth it. Becoming a game developer isn't about being perfect. It's about starting, learning, and being consistent. I'm 2 years into this journey and I'm still learning new things every single day, and I hope to keep learning things for the next 80 years. I hope I never stop learning, because there is so much to do and so much opportunity in this ever-changing world that we live in. So your journey is starting today, so take that first step, even if it's just installing a game engine or writing down a list of games you would like to make, or even joining a Discord community like LazyTeaStudios. The world needs your ideas, and I genuinely cannot wait to see them come true. Thank you for watching.